Hello, my name is Craig Rainey, and I've been in the construction industry for more than 40 years. When homeowners tell me the story of their project, oftentimes it sounds like this. It doesn't have to be that way.
Oh, wise guy, eh?
And most builders would say that. Welcome to Remodeling Wisdom. I'm Craig Rainey. Let's get started. I'm so glad you joined me today. I'm going to share some information with you that is going to challenge everything that you thought you knew about Design-Build. I don't care if you're a homeowner, consumer, or even a remodeler who claims to be Design-Build. What I'm about to share with you is absolutely going to challenge all of that. And I think you're going to be surprised at what I have to say about that. But before we get started, as usual, I'd like to encourage you, no matter what platform you're on, to hit the follow button, subscribe button, whatever it happens to be there. Just go ahead and reach up there and click that. Oh, wait. There you go. Thank you. And if you want to get hold of me, the best way to do it is because not every platform has a place where you can post comments that will get to me, this kind of thing. But I know a good way for you to get to me, which is just email me directly at craig@craigrainey.com. And I do read all my emails. I answer them in prompt fashion, so you will get a response. A lot of the episodes that I've done have been based upon email messages that I've received from listeners, and so I appreciate the input and definitely love to hear your opinion, your questions, your comments, that kind of thing. Now, if you want to cyberstalk me, and I encourage that, you can find out everything you want to know about Craig Rainey at craigrainey.com. And for those of you who are more partial to the written word as opposed to the spoken word, I do have a blog site, and it deals strictly with remodeling, and it is called Remodeling Wisdom Advice from the Pro, exactly the same as this podcast. But I try to supplement what we're doing there here with information there. And finally, thank you. You have a lot of choices on who you can listen to about remodeling, and I'm very pleased and very, very privileged that you chose me today to spend some time with. So anyway, with that behind us, let me tell you a little bit about Design-Build. And I would say the best way to do that is to give you a bit of a history on how the remodeling construction business used to be before handy-dandy internet and easy to operate software, this kind of thing. A lot of the design-build portions of, let me say this, a lot of the design portions of the design-build model were not accessible to your typical builder. And the reason for it is because the process used to be, back in the day, and this is during my lifetime, so I've experienced this, is typically a homeowner would say, okay, I want to get a home built, or I want to do a remodel. And so they would retain the services of an architect. And that architect would come out to their job site, their home, and they would measure up and sit with the homeowner and say, okay, we're going to do it this way. These are the spaces we'd like to improve. And then they would put their considerable acumen into this project, and they would draw up a set of blueprints. And at that point, there would be a set of construction drawings from which a builder could build. Well, as time went on, and let me just say, the market opened up. The industry was no longer so regulated as it was at the beginning. Everybody who was an entrepreneur was getting into the construction industry, and they found, there's a lot of money here, and to this day, it's that way. And so they decided, well, we're gonna do, and it became very competitive. So where the architect would design something, and you pretty much had a core group of bona fide builders who would build these things. I remember my granddad talking about it. My granddad had an architect who was a friend of his, and he got a whole lot of work from him because his pricing was very predictable for this architect. The architect wasn't designing anything that's way outside the box. That did happen, but typically that was for the more wealthy clients. And today with materials so accessible and the industry so accessible, you'll find that a lot of the builds that I'm doing are a lot more complex and a lot more technical than they used to be. So anyway, back in those days, you went to an architect as a homeowner, and then at that point you'd contract your builder saying, look, I've got construction drawings, give me a bid, tell me what you're going to do this for, and so forth. And that's how the job went. Well, as the number of contractors grew, and as people started realizing how expensive it was to hire an architect to come out there, because an architect, that's a professional pursuit, and it's like hiring an attorney or an accountant or someone of that nature. You're going to pay top dollar for that. And so the builders, being that the industry was so accessible, and like so many of all of us, we underestimate the complexity and the technical aspects of the building business. And you go, well, it's just lumber and nails. How hard can it be? And so you'll find that, a lot of builders went into it. Anyway, so what happened is, as the consumer, you, the client, as you became more sophisticated, with social media and Pinterest and, the internet started, but there was a lot more information that was being put up on the internet. And so you could really do a lot of research as a consumer on this. And so as a result, and I think it's great, by the way, the consumer became very sophisticated and a lot more knowledgeable. So relying on the builder wasn't a key part of what you did. You just made those decisions on your own, saying, well, again, this guy's doing it. How hard can it be? And so the architect kind of got cut out of it. Well, after a while, and what really drove this was HGTV and that kind of thing, and Home Depot too, and a lot of these classes that you would attend as a consumer, saying, well, we're going to do this build and so forth, and they would recommend that you get a designer involved, and then of course flow and everything else, and you wanted your place to look nice. You didn't just want a room addition. Well, throw another 300 square feet on there for me. That's what I need. You wanted something that, first off, would match the original architecture of the house. It wouldn't look like it was an addition. You don't want to just close in your garage and put windows in the front, make it a bedroom, because then you have a driveway driving right up to your bedroom. You wanted to be more creative as a consumer, and so you depended on the builder to come up with some ideas. Well, it turned out that the builder wasn't able to do that, because the builder builds. Your remodeler in the industry, I don't care if they call themselves Design-Build or not, in 9 out of 10 cases, they are just a builder, and they may or may not be good at that. So at that point, consumers started demanding, well, I'm going to need a designer in here. I'm going to need somebody, and I'm not talking about an interior designer doing finishes. I'm talking about architectural design, structural design. I'm going to need somebody who's got some creativity and some art to design this thing, because obviously the people who are digging holes and driving nails and cutting lumber are not qualified to do what I need them to do. So anyway, they started. So what happened is the consumers started going back to these architects, and then the architects, because software is so readily available, sometimes it's not even an architect. It's a designer. I do a whole lot of structural design, and I am no architect. I've never taken a single class in architecture other than taking courses to use my software better or that sort of thing. And of course, OJT, and I've had a lot of mentors who have helped me through. But I'm not an architect, and an architect has a unique skill set, and it's impressive. When I'm amongst architects, I'm reluctant to tell them that I even own a copy of Chief Architect, and most architects do not use Chief Architect. They'll use AutoCAD. Not many are using that much. Revit. They're all using different softwares, but the thing is, it really involves an innate knowledge about architecture. So one of the previous episodes, and I seem to be meandering, but I'm not. I'm coming to a point. One of the previous episodes talked about, man, they've got cool tools, but do they know what they're doing with it? And a lot of that had to do with some of the software that's out right now. I pay somewhere in the neighborhood of between $6,000 and $8,000 a year for my subscriptions to the different architectural design software that I've got. And as a remodeling firm, as somebody who I do this for a living, I rely heavily upon that software to do these renovations and to come up with designs. And as I've mentioned, only 25% of the reason I do that design is for the homeowner. That's so they can see it. 75% is to produce construction drawings that can be built from, and also the city can, you can pull permits with it. The city wants to see these kind of things. So we do that too. But if I run into a large enough scope project, it's, and especially in Austin, we've got a lot of really beautiful, intricate designs that are being built, and near the lakes, and some of the higher end communities. I'm not qualified to draw that design. I'm not qualified to draw that blueprint. I'm very limited in what I can do, and I know my limitations. So now keep in mind, I have years of experience in this, and so my company is considered a true design build firm because we do the design in-house. Now, I have been associated with a lot of remodelers that call themselves design build. And typically, and this is the vast majority of those that I've been involved with who call themselves that, they have nobody on staff, including ownership, who has any idea how, not only just, it doesn't matter if you own the software, but the core concept, the core precepts of architecture. They don't know that. They're builders. And so what they do is they typically will find an architect or an architectural designer who's their go-to. They will send the clients to that architect or that designer. And so this is the way the sales process works. You, the consumer, you take these 3 bids. You're looking for design build. We're all design build. You accept this one bid, and you go, okay, this ABC builder is my builder. They're design build. And so what they'll do is they'll say, okay, well, here's the scope of what you want to do. And they'll walk through your job and take a look, and you'll tell them what you want. And they'll take some measurements, and they'll do a sketch or whatever else. And then they'll come back to you at some point, and they'll say, okay, so the project that you're describing and what we're going to do, we have an initial bid of, let's say, $250,000 for this particular, it's a big renovation. And they'll go, okay, well, I guess that's okay. And they'll say, but what about the design portion of it? And they go, okay, now what we're going to do is we're not going to turn you over to our architectural design professional, and they're going to design this thing for you. And they go, okay, well, that sounds good. And so the builder says, however, I'm going to need to collect a design contract fee from you. And this will just be an initial down payment on this. And then depending on how intricate the design gets, it's going to go up. You're going to pay more for the design depending on how much you need. And architects, they charge based on square foot, by the hour, by the project. There are a lot of different ways they do that. One of the firms I worked for, I'll never forget, they started off with something like a $6,000 or $7,000 design contract down payment. So this client signed a design contract for $6,000 or $7,000, and then the architect began the design. By the time that the design was complete, and they were 3 months into this, it might have been 4, but this particular one I'm thinking of was 3 or 4 months into this design, and they had racked up somewhere in the neighborhood of $25,000 worth of design fees on this, in addition to the down payment. And so when the design came out, when the design's complete, they go back to the builder, and the builder refigures the job. And this particular job, which initially thought I was about $250,000, turned out to be $480,000. And it was breathtaking how much that had gone up. Now, these clients happen to have a lot of money, and they happen to be, very wealthy, and so that it was something that they went forward with the project, and it was beautiful when it came out. Now, let me ask you, as a potential client, is that a process that you would be comfortable with? I know I'm not. I am not a fan of open-ended contracts. I don't like them. Look, I need you to do this. If you say you're design build, what's it going to cost me to get this design? And what is it going to cost for me to get it built? And what's the total on this thing? So the reason, and let me back up. So what is the reason for having a design build firm if they're just sending you to an architect anyway? And it comes down to what is the core purpose of your builder, your general contractor. What is their number one job? And this is my opinion, but I think you'll agree. Their number one job is to make sure that they design a project and build the project within the budget that you have outlined for them. If, in this case, $250,000 was their budget, and that's where they have to stay, a true design build firm will design the project within the parameters of the budget, with the budget in mind. That's what they do. And so if a company says they're design build, And the part of their design is their designer is just another subcontractor, like their electrician or their plumber or their HVAC or their framer or their painter or their interior designer. It doesn't make any difference. That is not design build. They're just a builder who's farming it out to someone else. Because if you are my client and we talk and you say, okay, Craig, price this out. Let's go with the $250,000 number. I will say, okay, so $250,000 is your number. I am now going to design this to fit that budget. I will pack as much into it as I can. We will do the things that we can do, but it will be a $250,000 build when I'm complete. Now, if you say, well, Craig, that's great. I'm going to go to my architect now, and I'm going to get them to design what I want. I'm glad it's going to be $250,000. Well, that architect is not going to design a $250,000 job for you. And the reason I know that is because architects do not know what the cost of a sheet of OSB is unless they go to Home Depot and look at it. They don't know how much a plumber or electrician charges. They don't know how much 3,000-pound concrete's going for right now. They don't know how much the remodeler is going to mark it up. So it's incumbent upon that builder to have the relationship with the designer or the design firm where they can work with them and say, okay, we need to stay in the budget, and so then they can review the plans. You, the owner, review the plans, the architect's drawing the plans, and the builder reviews the plans and guides that project so that it's built on budget. You don't want to just go at something, okay, well, I've decided to remodel my house. What's the point of getting a bid if once you get the bid, the design is going to take it completely out of control and off budget? So that's the purpose of your general contractor, is to guide you through the whole process, not just to drive nails and dig holes, but to make sure that the prep is done. And the difference between a remodeling builder and a true design build firm is the difference between a bookkeeper and a CPA. It's the difference between a paralegal and an attorney. It's the difference between a builder that has span tables and an engineer. You have to have this expertise. And because a company says they're design build, the first question you should ask is, do you have an on-staff designer? And are you going to be able to design my project within my budget because you work with this designer? Now, the look that you're going to see on the face of these builders when you ask them this, in most cases, is going to be blank and scared, because this is not a concept that they focus on. Remember what I've said so many times. This industry is filled with people who are not qualified to hold a job. They go to work for the only person who will hire them, themselves. And so when they go into this business, they may or may not have any level of expertise in it. And so when you're talking about something as intricate and as important as how they're going to handle the design and make sure that money stays where you want it to stay, and make sure that the design is going to meet all the standards that are necessary within the within the focus of the city or whatever governing authority is going to be inspecting it. These are things that are very intimidating to most builders, because they just want to go out there and drive nails and build it. And they have found, and it's hubris, but many builders over the years go, we don't need a design. I'll just go ahead and get this done. I mean, it's not that hard. We'll just do it. And they convince the homeowner that they can. Ladies and gentlemen, do not ever start a project without a design drawing. Never, ever. I don't care how small it is. I don't care if you're rehabbing a bathroom. Get a design. Know exactly what your finishes are going to be, what the layout's going to be, what the tile layout's going to be. You need to know these things, and that is just as much a part of your project as pouring concrete, putting sheetrock on the walls and painting it, or driving nails in the framing. It is that important. It's just part of it. So in the design build world, it is so trendy and so attractive to say we're a design build firm, but most firms are not. Now I'm covering the same ground because it's important. I talk about this all the time, and I have a potential client, and I think they're pretty scared right now because I just reviewed their plans. Guess what motivated me to do this particular episode? And in their master bathroom, ensuite, primary bath, for those of you who are offended, I do apologize. But in this main bathroom, the architect, actually wasn't even an architect, it was an interior designer who does finishes that actually owned some software and started doing redesign. This designer moved a wall between the main closet and the main bathroom 8 inches into the bathroom. That's all it was. Just moved it 8 inches. There's no reason to do it. She just did it. That little move right there is a $12,000 adjustment to move a wall 8 inches. Why? Okay, there's framing, absolutely. There's demo, absolutely. That is a bearing wall, so we got to do with the roof. We got to mess with the roof and make that work. But what about the electrical that goes over the top? You can't just cut electrical wires, but put junction boxes up there, pardon me, and make it work. You have to rerun that wire from either the main or the sub panel all over again, down on the walls to all the switches, to the outlets, to the lights. It all has to be redone. There's electrical, HVAC, those vents, they have to be moved. There are things that have to be done. The plumbing had to be moved 8 inches because we no longer have the proper room for our toilet to fit, so we had to cut concrete. This is a very big move, and the designer had no clue. To this designer, it was just, it's a cool design. We're moving stuff around. There were doors that open in where if you were sitting on the toilet, it would bang your knees when the door opened. It's just these kind of things were overlooked, and because this designer owned the software, this designer presumed they were a designer. And I'm talking about architectural designer, and they're not. They're an interior decorator. They're somebody who works with color. And so this prospective client of mine came in here and said, well, how much is it now? You told me it was around 250,000. We're closer to 350 now. And he's just shocked. And I told him, I said, look, I encouraged you to make sure that you select your builder first, and make sure that builder knows something about budget and design so they can work with your architectural staff to make sure that your project stays within your financial means. It's so important. And he didn't do it. And he's working with me. Listen to a podcast. Listen to anything I say. I do not leave any of this information out when I speak to my potential clients. I let them know, look, it's important that you keep me involved in the whole process. And I guess maybe to some people it sounds like I'm just being arrogant. Well, I just need you to be there because I'm the expert. It's not that. I'm going to be doing the work. I am intimately knowledgeable about every moving part in a remodel project. I know what everything costs. I know the order it has to go in. I know what's going to happen before it happens. You have to have that. You have to have that knowledge in with your design, and it's so critical that you do that. If a builder portrays him or herself as a design-build contractor, a design-build remodeler, the amount of work and the amount of knowledge that is necessary to make sure that that title fits is beyond most remodelers, because they just say that because they go, okay, well, I'll get an architect, but that architect is going to do the architect's job. That architectural designer is going to do that job, and they're going to do it the best they can based on what looks beautiful. And believe me, as a client, as a customer, you're going to go, yes, I would love to have a barrel ceiling in that room. Yes, I would love to change out those windows and make them bigger. Well, the problem is, if I'm a builder, I'd say, well, the barrel ceiling is good, but we're going to have to completely rebuild your roof and reframe it and rebrace it. Those windows, we have a brick or stone exterior, and your house is 27 years old. We're not going to be able to match that brick. So we're going to have to tear out a big part of the wall and find a brick that comes close to matching it, lace it. It's just going to cost you money. So there are things that you have to do. There are things, as a builder, there are things you have to know so that you can guide your client safely out of danger and keep them within what they want to do. Because, ladies and gentlemen, when you do a remodel project and you're renovating a home and you love that home and you want to add some space to it, or you want to make it open concept, or you want to update it and make it more modern, you don't want it to break you. You don't want it to put you in the poorhouse. You want a builder, to be your advocate in this thing. You want your builder to be knowledgeable in all phases of this build to protect you from bad decisions and protect you from those who don't know. That's the builder's job. And this poor client, he's not a client yet, but a prospective client, this poor guy, he has put so much money into this design. And so now he's got a really expensive design that he honestly, I don't think he has the money to build. I don't want you to be in that situation. So